I'm going to ask a rhetorical question because I know what the answer is for most of us. After you make a goal or a New Year's resolution within a month, do you find it difficult to make any headway? I thought so. Well, in this video, I want to talk about some of the causes and some of the fixes to get us back on track with our achievements so that we can get to our goals, get to our resolutions, things like that. On my last video, I was talking about using navigational devices to help us stay on track, not only getting to where we want to go in our car, but also in our personal and professional life. And I spoke about Stephen Covey's book, the 7 Habits book. And the one we talked about was begin with the end in mind. And he started out with basically what it is you want on your tombstone. I mean, that's pretty morose, I guess. I guess that's the word I would use. But also your goals. So where you want to go with your goals? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What kind of things do you want to be doing within a certain time period, next 12 months or whatever? So think about that, what your goal is, your destination, and work backwards from there to see how you're going to get there. And so talking about that, maybe think about the other 6 in the book, the other 6 habits. And today I'm going to talk about putting first things first. Now, it's not exactly how Covey talks about his. His is more about relationships, and that's great. I'm not in disagreement, but as far as putting first things first, I'm talking about things that are important to you, not just relationships, but your goals, things like that. His wasn't about time management, but what I'm going to talk about is basically prioritizing and time management. So I'm going to divert a little bit from his message and say a little bit of my own, but definitely you want to put first things first, what's important. So the first thing, and you may have to rewind this if you need to, because I'm not going to probably give you a lot of time in this video to actually do some of these steps, but what I want you to do now is, if you have one, and if you don't, create one, piece of paper or on your phone or whatever, a list of your goals for the next 6 to 12 months. What is it you want to accomplish? Is it weight loss? Is it getting education so you can get a better job? Is it finishing out a semester in school? I know, been there, done that. That's challenging. But anyhow, take a sheet or whatever it is you have your goals on. And if you don't have your goals written down, do that now. And then prioritize. And I don't care how many you write down, just prioritize them. So what's most important, second most important, third, blah, blah, blah. Because we want to get the most important ones on top, okay? I want to stop for a second and then we're going to come back. So go ahead and do that right now. All right, so hopefully you gave yourself enough time to get that done. So what we want to do is look at your goal sheet and see what's on top. What bubbled up to be your number one goal? What's most important to you? What in the next 6 to 12 months do you want to have done or completed or reached, whatever way you want to say it? And we're just going to focus on that one goal. We're not going to focus on the others. And the reason why I say that, it's not that I'm discounting them, that they're not important. But the thing is, one thing I noticed, especially in my own life, if I focus on one important goal and I have other ones, either through motivation from working on that goal or that the other goals are kind of like a subset for that goal, that they will get worked on as well. Maybe not all of them will get accomplished, but let's focus on one thing at a time because we're kind of built that way, right? One thing at a time. So when you look at that goal, think for a bit, really focus on it. Why do you, number one, want to do that goal? And number two, why is that the most important? What is it about it? Is it weight loss for your health? You're afraid that you might get sick or you're on a lot of medication? Is it, I want to get schooling out of the way. I want to complete this semester and do it well. Or is it I want to get some skills, or I want to see if I can get a promotion at work? Whatever it is. But what is it and why? You need to have a strong why, because if it's just like, well, I just picked that one because they're all about equal. No, look at it, and you don't need to share here. You share with yourself. Why is that the most important? And then once you start thinking about that, go to the next step. I'm not saying that the others don't matter, but you got to have that one goal. And do you want to really achieve it? That's another thing. A lot of people will put goals down, and it's like, if I do, that's great. If I don't, that's fine. No, does it really matter? And what I mean by matter, if you don't, okay, let's back it up a little bit. If you do achieve it, think about how you're going to feel. Where are you going to be? Are you going to be making more money, a better relationship with your significant other, your spouse? You're going to get some weight off, so you're going to feel a little bit lighter and you can move around better. Those kind of things. How are you going to feel if you achieve it? You're going to celebrate? You're going to pat yourself on the back? Or are you going to tell all your friends what you achieved? Whatever. How are you going to feel? How is your family and friends going to feel if you do that? They'll say, oh, wow, you accomplished it. Great. Good for you. Now, on the flip side of that coin, think about if you don't. If you procrastinate, you don't put any effort towards it, 6 months, a year goes by, and you're still in the same place you were January 2nd. And what will people say about that? They'll say, are they going to say like, oh, you never really finished your goals anyhow. It's no big deal. We didn't think you were going to do it. Or it was something that you wanted to share with your family. Like if you got a promotion, you make a few extra bucks, buy a new car, whatever. How are they going to feel? I mean, we are caught up in our circle. And if our circle's feeling good, we're probably going to feel good. Or if they feel bad, we're going to feel bad. But think about your goal in light of accomplishing it and not accomplishing it. Okay, let's talk about the procrastination thing. We all do it. We are creatures of habit, okay? So New Year's Eve, you tell the whole party, we're all drinking, we sober up the next day and life is back to normal again, that you're going to do this or that, when they go around and say what your resolutions are, and you fall for it and you go ahead and say something at the last minute that you weren't prepared to say. And the next day you go back to work, you go back to school, you go back to your life, and you have the same routine. You get up at the same time, you have the same thing for breakfast, you get ready for work, probably wear a uniform or the same kind of clothes every day, go to school, nothing changes. And so it's comfortable being in a routine, a rut, if you want to call it that. And we all do it because it makes life easier. But we don't get anywhere doing that. We're creatures of habit. Okay, so 2 things about procrastination. Number 1, don't wait till the time is right. Like, when this happens, I'm going to start working on this. Or next week I'll do it. I'm too busy this week. I'm tired. I don't feel well. We have so many excuses why we're not doing what we need to do. The effort, the time, whatever. So don't do that to yourself. So here are some ideas to break out of that. Number 1, when you are working on your goal, whatever it is, minimize distractions. If you're like in an office environment like I tend to be, like right now I've got 3, besides my phone, I've got 3 monitors because I move stuff around and I copy and paste and do all sorts of stuff like that. And I like everything really big so I can see it well. Copying figures from one spreadsheet to another, whatever it is, okay? But if I'm working on, say, what I'm doing right now with you, I'm down just to my laptop monitor. I don't have all this stuff, things popping up, emails popping up, texts coming up, a video starts playing on some web page I forgot to close. Quiet. I'm home alone now. There's no one around. The TV's not on. It's just me and my computer and my little brain, okay? So minimize distractions, whatever you're doing. Example of, if you're doing something, a skill, say you're taking golf lessons. Don't care about the people around you. Don't see if you're at the driving range and this guy in front of you, he hits every ball to the other end of the property, or someone behind you, every time they swing at the ball, they don't hit it, and they get all pissy and say four-letter words, things like that. Just cut that out. Focus on what you're doing, okay? All right, so minimize distractions. The next thing I go for is time blocking, and I learned this in college. And the reason why I learned this is part of my learning skills class I took, because even though I got the grades to get into college, I was not a great student. I admit that. I had a lot of bad habits. And one of the things I learned was time blocking. And what you do, well, let me back it up. When I was doing it, dating myself here, I made a spreadsheet on a piece of paper. And, it was like columns and rows. You know what a spreadsheet's like, but this is before I had a computer and before I didn't even know what a spreadsheet was. I just call it a matrix. And across the top, I made days, across the top, I labeled it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. And then down on the side, be on this side, whatever is right too. Times. And there were times to where I would break those down into hours, because that's how things worked out. And because of my way I studied with ADD or ADHD or whatever they call it now, I had a tendency of my mind would start to wander if I tried to do things for too long. So some of my classes that were very difficult, very challenging, very boring, I broke that down to 15-minute increments. I kid you not. Because if I was doing that class, I found a place to stop, and then I'd pick up a textbook for another class and start doing that. And if I did that process over and over again, I got more done, I retained more, and I didn't fall asleep reading, which I tend to do. I've had this my whole life. Even if it's something I really enjoy, a novel or a subject, and if I'm just reading, that's the mode of stuff getting into my head, I'll fall asleep. And so I would break things up so that changing subjects would help stimulate my brain. What else did I do? Getting back to the time blocking. So like say you're in school or work. You have certain things you do on certain days every week, okay? You have like Psychology 101 on this day at this time. Or you have chem lab from this time to this time. Put those in your schedule. Oh, and I was going to get back to saying how I did it. I did it with a typewriter. Hitting the not the space bar. What is it? The underlying bar to make the lines and the whole bit. It took me forever. But after I made one, what I did is I took it down to the copy place and made a ton of them, so I wouldn't have to do that again. I just fill in the information. But anyhow, I digress. So you put those in there because these are things that you do all the time. So these are like commitments. They're in concrete. You can't change them. At work the same way. You have certain meetings you have to attend on a regular basis. Put that in there. Same thing if you're going to work, you start at a certain time, end a certain time. Put that in that block of time that you're at work. Now your lunch, if you get a lunch break, put that in there. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So anyhow, create that. That's one of the tools you can use. And what you'll notice is that there's going to be pockets of time that you can work on your goals. Say, for instance, if it's something like me, typing up the outline for a video, I can do that in small chunks. If need be, I could do it in 15 minutes at a time. I'd rather have more time because to me, I need to have a flow in my brain. If I'm breaking up and doing other things, it isn't going to work. Oh, another thing about college. time blocking. Some people time block their chores for like 1 day a week. I had a friend that, every Saturday or Sunday, she would do all of her housework. She would do her laundry, she would clean house, blah, 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 and do it all in one chunk. Well, like I said, I fall asleep easily. I get bored from reading. So what I did is I would do my chores in between those little segments, because not that I was procrastinating or trying to get away from it, it was a chance to get up and move around. Okay. So like I knew I had to take out the kitchen trash. It was full. So between reading this book and the next book, I get up and take a couple minutes, take the trash outside, put a new bag in, sit down and start studying. Or like with, doing the laundry, once it's done in the washer, the buzzer goes off. When I have my little break, I get up and do that and throw it in the dryer. That little bit of exercise back then was enough to wake me up, to get the blood flowing again, feeling a little more refreshed and going from there. And so that helped me with my studies. So anyhow, everybody's different. I'm not going to tell you exactly where to put things, but I'm saying the first things you want to put down are your commitments, either classes, meetings, whatever you do on a regular basis, and then you can see what's left over. And also definitely put your time in there for sleep. Okay. You may be staying up late at night and working on some project and just really jazzed, but you have to get up the next morning at 4 and catch a plane. That might make for a bad day. So try, what they call it, sleep hygiene. Try to get to bed at the same time every day, even the weekends. So anyhow, put that on there as well as a remind you is, okay, what am I going to do now? I got an hour and a half and I'm going to work on this. Can I get that done before I have to get ready for bed? So speaking of bed, a couple things. As far as going to bed and getting up. Okay, so I have never been a morning person, okay? I hate the alarm. I hate getting up and going anywhere. Seriously, it's a bone of contention. Anyhow, but even at my young age, I still set the alarm now and then. And what I found out is now that whenever I know I set the alarm, I don't sleep well that night, and I usually wake up before it because I hate the sound of the alarm. Probably one of the reasons. But anyhow, one of the things I did when I was in one of my corporate positions is that the company had on each campus would have a small gym. It was free to employees, and I took advantage of it. And like I just said, I hate getting them early. So just getting up and having to deal with traffic, even if it's like 8 o'clock or later, yeah, I want to get up when I get up and do what I want to do when I want to do it. That's how I function, and that doesn't get anything done. So anyhow, this was in Seattle, and if you know anything about Seattle, they get snow in the wintertime, even down to the water, to the sound. And friends got me talked into starting skiing, so I took up skiing. And I, even for getting up for doing things I really like skiing. I want to get up first thing in the morning, pick up my buddy, get up on the hill. As soon as they turn on the lifts, I want to be going up the lift and coming down and doing first tracks. I want to be one of the first people going down that mountain when it's fresh snow, freshly groomed, all ready to rock and roll. But I hate getting up early. But I did anyhow. Once I got up there, I was fine. But even for things I really enjoyed, I didn't want to get up early for it. If I'm going on vacation, got to get up early, go to the airport to go fly somewhere for a vacation. It's like, oh, I don't want to. Trust me, ask my wife. Anyhow, so the reason why I brought up skiing is, number one, you want to get up a little bit earlier. Try to get up a little bit earlier, whether it's a half hour earlier than you're used to or an hour. And I'll tell you why. A couple things. Anyhow, so I was skiing, and I went to the gym at work, and I went first thing in the morning. Had a light breakfast. I packed all my stuff the night before, so I jump into my gym clothes. I had my work clothes packed away because after I work out, I take a shower and get ready for work and go from the gym to my office. And The reason why I did that primarily is because I didn't want to get out of shape in the off season. If you ever done a sport where you just do it once a year, if you don't stay in shape, it is miserable getting back into it because like any other sport, there's certain muscles that have to be ready to go. You have to be, limber, the whole bit. So what I did is I went to the gym just about every day if I could. Sometimes I couldn't make it because of other commitments, but I work out every day. So by the time ski season came around, I was ready to go, where a lot of my friends were going, oh, I can only do one run and my legs are dying, they're on fire. Anyhow, so I did that every day, and I did it because I wanted to be ready for ski season. Now, one of the other advantages besides being in shape when you go to the gym every day is that you get some endorphins going. There's studies on that when you're exercising. You get the blood pumping. By the time I got to my office, I didn't need any more coffee. I was awake. And ready to go. I was in a good mood, which ordinarily, if I got to work and I didn't have enough coffee, I'd be kind of a Donnie Downer for most of the day. So anyhow, there's another benefit to doing that. So that's me exercising. Now for you, for whatever you're working on, excuse me, you may, if you're learning how to golf, maybe get up a little bit earlier and have meet your trainer there early, get that done, go to work, go to school, whatever. If you're working at your home office, get up earlier. Some of the benefits of that is that if you get up before anyone else in the house does, the streets are quieter, the house is quiet, TV's not on, your phone is turned off, you don't have the distractions. And you may find that taking an extra half hour to an hour in the morning before we usually get up, you can get some stuff accomplished. You really can. And if you're like me, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night for different reasons. I will set up stuff in my office in the other room to where I can work on things. I've got a nice quiet keyboard, by the way. I can work on things. I just can't do edits and create videos because I wake people up. But I can work on things and get that done in the morning. And sometimes, you wake up in the middle of the night and your brain is just flying. And I'm not talking about anxiety flying. I'm talking about creativity. You're getting ideas. That's another thing. If you want to help with your sleep, if you're somebody who wakes up in the middle of the night and, God, man, I gotta remember to pay that bill, whatever. When you wake up, write it down, because there's something about getting it out of here and putting it on paper or on your phone or whatever you use. Get it out of here, you're more likely to turn over and go back to sleep. But anyhow, if you're up, be productive. Just don't lay there in bed and stare at the ceiling until the alarm goes off. So you can do that. So the other thing I was going to talk about with time is, well, we talked about time blocking, minimizing distractions. The other is what they call chunking. You're taking something big and making it smaller. So like when you get up in the morning and you got a half hour, figure out what you can do working on your goal that you can do for a half hour and complete. Okay, don't start some big project that would take you all weekend to do, but break it up. Start thinking about how you can break things up to where you can start it, finish it. I'm done with that for today. I'm going to go to work or whatever. The thing about chunking is it's good for a lot of different reasons, but I remember back in the day when my wife was first learning how to ski and we go skiing together and I'd work with her. I took her up on one hill that I know that was challenging for her, that, she would have a hard time just skiing straight down. Anyhow, so I told her a couple things. What we're going to do is we're going to go turn by turn. And each time you do a turn, you're going to stop. You're not going to look down the hill. You're just going to look at me and we're going to talk. If you have any questions, you need any help with anything, do I have any tips of you're putting your weight too much this way, whatever. And we're going to do that today. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So we went turn, stop, Look where your next turn is. Is there anything in your way? People, like a group of people standing on the hill, or is there rocks there or a tree there that you might have to adjust your turn, whatever. One turn at a time. Chunking. Got to the bottom, and I said, okay, now look behind you and see what you just skied down. And her eyes got this big, and she says, I just skied that? And I said, yeah, it took you about half hour to get down there, but you did it. You didn't fall. You didn't get hurt. You skied it. The next time we came down, she pretty much skied the whole mountain without stopping. So anyhow, chunking. The thing is that the reason why I had her look up there, I wanted her to see what she accomplished. The same thing with chunking, working on your projects, your goals, is that every once in a while stop and look at what you have accomplished. Even though you're doing like 15 minutes or a half hour at most a day, that adds up. You start moving, like baby steps. You will get there. Just don't stop. Okay, what else we got for you here? So when you do the chunking, same thing, you go back to your time blocking. You go up there and you can say, okay, this time in the morning, I'm going to work on this. And when you write it down, it's kind of like a commitment to yourself. It's like, okay, tomorrow when I get up, I'm going to research this topic. And when you get into your office, like what I do, research that topic. If you're going to go to the gym, say, I'm going to the gym this time, I'm going to do legs today. Tomorrow I'm going to do upper body, or I'm going to do aerobic, or I'm just going to do, get in the hot tub, get warmed up, and just do some simple stretches, whatever it is. Get that in there so that it's a commitment that you're going to do that. Two things you're going to find with the time blocking. Number one is like you start adding things in there like your commute time, other things you have to do, picking up the kids at school. You start seeing your time chisel away. That's why I really encourage you to try to get stuff done first thing in the morning, because at the end of the day, you say, well, I'll do it at lunch, and then lunch gets busy, or you're tired, or you ate too much and you go back to your office and fall asleep. Not that I ever did that. Anyhow, you'll notice that by the time you get home, commuting and everything else, you're tired. You have dinner, you watch the news, whatever it is you do at the evening. Next thing you know, it's like half hour away and you need to go to bed so you can get up the next day. So you don't do anything. And that's not you, per se. I do it. I still do it. It's human nature. So if you do it first thing in the day, you have that done, because first things first, that's the most important thing to do, right? Our goal, something you want to get done, 6 to 12 months, right? But also when you do that and you make some progress and you see you're keeping track of your progress and you're getting farther along and you're getting closer to where you want to go, think about it through the day, or at the end of the day, you get home, talk to your roommate or your spouse and talk about these things, and it feels good. It feels good you're making progress. But the thing is day after day goes by and you keep putting it off, you don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel good about where you're going. And then you start saying, well, maybe I shouldn't have tried that after all. I don't have time for that. We all only have 24 hours in a day, okay? Whether you're Elon Musk or me, 24 hours in a day. It's how you structure it and what you do with it. But like I said, first things first. Do what's most important, okay? Okay, let's review. Prioritize your goals. Prioritize your goals and know why it's prioritized. Not just that you just like, oh, I just feel like doing that. What is your why? What is it you want to feel like? What do you want to be like? What do you want to do when you get to that goal? Prioritize it and have a why. Have a good reason. If someone asks you, like, why are you working so hard on that? You have an answer. You have an answer for yourself. You're not just doing it because Don said to. You're doing it because it's important to you. And why is it important? That's something you need to figure out, okay? So just focus on that top goal. When you're done with it, or it's you're close to getting into maintenance mode, bubble up another goal. Start working on that one. Time blocking. See where your time goes. See where all the important things are, or your commitments are, and see where you can squeeze in 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, 2 hours to work on your goal. Maybe not every day, but frequently. so that you have that rhythm, that momentum going. You know what I'm saying? Minimize distractions wherever you're working on it. If you're getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and working on your memoir, you're working on your book, do it. Get up and do it. Just don't lay in bed. We all need sleep, and most of us need more sleep than we get. But the thing is, laying there in bed and staring at the ceiling is just a waste of life. Get active if you can. If it's just something that popped into your head, like, oh, I got to remember to pay the phone bill before I go to work. Write it down, because once you write it down, you're going to look at that list and you're going to do it. Okay, and then maybe get back to sleep. So minimize distractions. Don't look at what other people are doing. Don't compare yourself to other people. It's like going to school. There's always somebody in class that's better than you, and there's always someone that you're better than. Don't do the comparisons. Just focus on your goal, your path, where you're going, your destination. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Up earlier, have alone time, the quiet. No phones are ringing. Doorbells aren't ringing. Your phone's not going off. No one's sending you email that early. For most of us, I've had jobs to where I was involved in 7x24. It didn't stop. I don't have that job anymore. Anyhow, chunk up your goal into pieces, into manageable pieces, so you can accomplish a little bit every time you work at it and you finish it, whatever that chunk is, whether, like I said, whether it's 10, 15 minutes, half hour, 3 hours, chunk it up. Don't try to do it all at once, and don't try to do so little that you don't make any headway whatsoever, or you give yourself so little time for too big of a chunk that you don't get it done. These things mess with you. They will. And don't procrastinate. I know it's easier said than done, but the thing is about doing it first thing in the morning, it's out of the way. You did the most important thing that day. If it's reading the Bible, if you're trying to you said, I'm going to read the Bible in a year. When you sit down with the Bible, you open it up and you read it, do it first thing in the morning, so that the rest of the day, you've accomplished something. It's like, I can't remember the guy who did it. It was for a graduation ceremony. It was a military guy. I can't remember his name, but you could look it up on Google and probably find the video. But one of the things he said, when you get up in the morning, make your bed. Doesn't sound like a big deal, right? But he says, your bedroom's going to look better, so that feels good. And you've already accomplished something for the day. One thing, you've accomplished it. Same thing with working on your goals, even if it's just for a short period of time and you made a little bit of progress. You've made progress. You've accomplished something. That feels good. That'll help you get through the day. Excuse me. So anyhow, don't procrastinate. We're all busy. We all got stuff going on. Trust me, I do it too. I always go like, oh, I'm home, so I'm going to go do laundry, or I'm going to do dishes, or I'm going to vacuum because it's way overdue. Some chores can wait. And I talked about this in other videos. You can delegate. Work with your spouse or your kids or your roommate. Cut up the chores. You don't do everything. Hire somebody. I don't have time on the weekends anymore because I'm working on this big project. I got this big goal. I'm trying to, graduate from this program that I started 2 years ago, and I want to get out. I want to, get promoted and do a new job or a new career. And I don't have time to do yard work. Pay someone else to do it. Hire somebody. Hire somebody that enjoys what they do because you enjoy what you do. And so it is a mutual benefit. Just because you hate something doesn't mean someone else hates it too. Some people like to do the stuff, like the tedious stuff. Some people like data entry. That puts me to sleep. Some people like doing taxes. I hate taxes. But anyhow, you get my drift. You can't make more time. You can set time aside, by doing other things. You can change what you do with the time you do have, and you can always make more money. There's always a way to make money, but you can't make more time. We have 24 hours in a day, and how many years we have on this planet, most of us don't know. I don't know when I'm going, but I want to pack as much good stuff in as I can while I'm here. So anyhow, before I get on another topic, let's roll that up. So maybe going forward, I might do some more Stephen Covey stuff, since he's popped into my head, and I have good memories of the classes I took of his with his book. So anyhow, until next time, try this out. If you have comments about whether it's working or not working for you, if you have questions, go ahead, put those in the comments. I will get back to you, and we'll go from there. But anyhow, let's get some of those goals taken care of. Let's get to where you want to go. Let's make more out of our lives than just doing the same thing for every day, forever. There's more to life than just routine. All right. First things first. This is Donald Henderson. See you next time.